Apparently even at that price, no one wants it.
So does that mean it's a market value price if no one's buying it on the market?
Hi everyone, I'm the Rum.
And I'm the Wine, and on this channel, as if you've subscribed already know, we talk about being expats in Ireland, and one of the topics that comes up naturally a lot is housing. And we have another rant prepared about that very topic. So in Ireland, it's very common to have a rent increase every year. There are certain restrictions on how much the rent can be increased, and there's actually been a reduction on how much it can be increased, as we talked about in a previous video. We can link here. But pretty much since we moved here in 2016, our rent got increased by 4%.
Every year.
Every year,
except
until the new law. And so last year we didn't have a rent increase, but of course it couldn't last, our luck couldn't last for this long. We got the official letter in the mail about the rent review, and of course there's been an increase.
Yes, and the interesting thing of why we're making this video is the crazy way in which this rent review has come about. It's a bit absurd, I get it, but at the same time it feels like if it can be readily abused.
So there are certain rules the landlords have to follow when they send a rent review, like it has to be a certain amount of days notice that they give you, and the part that landlords tend, I think, to get very creative about, our landlord got very, very creative with, is that they have to provide 3 properties that are being advertised right now to prove that the new proposed rent that they're trying to increase it to is in line with the market value. So it does make a bit sense that naturally they wouldn't give you like much nicer properties that are like exactly like the one you're living in and cheaper, because then you'd be like, oh, thanks for letting me know about that, I'll move there instead. But what they do, because they're trying to argue, oh no, we're increasing your rent, and actually we're being nice because we're only increasing it within the official government limits. But so we're showing you properties that are even more expensive to show like, oh, we're still renting under the market value.
Now for context, let's give you a little rundown of the place that we're currently living in. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and we're currently on the ground floor. I included in the rent, we've got stuff like parking, don't have a car, but you know, that's included there anyway.
Well, we're technically in Dublin City, but some people might argue about that, because we live very far out, like...
There is no arguing about it. The thing is that we've lived like literally under a kilometre more, we would no longer be in Dublin 13. We'd be outside of our number, our air code would have changed, so.
Yeah. So when we moved in, the rent was €1,990 per month, and the new proposed rent is €2,066 per month.
Yeah, so that's about a 3.8 increase it was. Now, getting this actual property at that sort of price at this time, it was in the middle of about to be the start of Ireland's longest lockdown. So we think we're able to get in there at a good price there, considering that the average rental price now in Dublin is...
It's over €2,000, and it sounds absurd to be like, oh, it's such a bargain, we just got it under €10, under to €2,000, you know, like such a bargain. But it kind of is for being able to live in a 2-bathroom place that's pretty newly built and has some insulation and working windows, which our previous flat didn't quite have anymore at the point that we left, so it was a good place to move into. So the places our landlord nicely, well, not nicely, because they literally have to legally do it, but they have to list those 3 properties they're comparing the price to. So the one thing that all of them had in common are they are 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. So that in itself is the same as ours, but that's where the similarities kind of stop. So the first property we're looking at is a 2-bed, 2-bath in Drumcondra, and literally in the description of the place it says walking distance to the city centre. Now, if you paid attention, like literally 60 seconds ago or something, when we were saying that you could probably argue whether where we live still is classified as Dublin City, because
it will take us about, according to Google Maps, 2 hours.
More than
as
2 hours.
it is
More.
to walk in to Dublin City. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound within walking distance to the city to me.
Yeah. And obviously, the closer you get to the city, the more expensive places are going to be. So, yes, it makes sense. Like, this place is priced at €2,350 per month. And yeah, it makes sense. You will pay more because you live within proximity to the city centre. You can literally walk there. Also, it's because, like, we live in an apartment block, and they tried to also find properties within apartment blocks to make it more similar. So, fair play on that note.
Yeah.
But that also gives you the option to look at what other places were being rented in that same apartment block. And I literally found one exact similar 2-bath, 2-bed, same square footage because it's the same apartment block, essentially. And that flat went for €2,000 per month. So just €10 more than you're paying now, and definitely under the market value of what the new rent they proposed is. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, again, it's a capitalist society. This is what people might want to do. But at the same time, just like how we came in here in this apartment block and we basically went and picked the cheapest apartment there is, that is usually what people are going to do. No one's going to go and pick what is next on our list as probably their first choice.
next up, we have a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment in Castleknock, which, if you know a little bit about Dublin, is already a bit more of a fancy area. Like, we noticed when we realised in the previous companies we worked for, both our bosses lived there, and we'd never even looked at the flats there because they weren't in our budget. I'm like, that was already our first impression of there. And also, like, we looked at this property, I went and looked it up online because it was still there, and it's being praised as one of the newest luxury developments in Castleknock. So that already gives you an idea that it's not necessarily the same as our cheapest off the block ground floor flats that we're living in now. So first of all, you're not on the ground floor, which is usually the higher up you go in a building is what already increases the price you pay in rent. So that's number one. Secondly, you have an extra large balcony overlooking a green area. You are in walking distance to Phoenix Park. Now, we have a small park that we're close to, but we're definitely overlooking it. And like I said, it's a small park. It's not literally Europe's biggest city park. So that is definitely a benefit. You normally pay extra for to be within strolling distance of that.
Yeah, there are no dares there. They don't have the... what's the president doesn't live
The president doesn't live there, no.
So yeah, definitely a downgrade as green spaces and parks with goes.
We have some ducks. Ducks are always nice.
Yeah.
But
I guess swans are luxury enough.
when they are there.
All 4 of them.
That's right.
So the amenities that this flat comes with, don't stop there.
There's a hot press, which I actually don't know what it is, but
I thought you were about to say hot tub. I was like hot what? Yeah, I will go and look at what that is.
I was expecting the native speaker would know, so I was lazy and didn't look it up. But anyway, they have that included in the rent, along with some of the other benefits like cable, television and whatever. The flat is also 90 square meters, which makes it bigger than the flat that we are living in. And it's also by foot. You can walk to Blanchardstown Shopping Centre and Coolmine train station. I mean, we can walk to shops and the train station by foot as well, but it's not a short distance. So, again, things that usually bring up the rent that you're paying.
Yeah, my biggest thing is that this thing looks like it's on the 4th floor. There's a great difference between being on the ground floor and the 4th floor. There's views. Look at the road. Yes, the sun. That's another topic for another day.
Now, this finest apartment in Dublin 15, actual real quote, is being advertised for, at the time of the rent review, 2,400. Now, when I looked it up, it was being advertised for 2,300 because in all its luxury and glory, it seems no one wanted it for that price.
Yes, and just to say, this is even a couple weeks after the script was written. It is still up there as of recording this morning. So maybe when this comes out it's still there? Who knows? Apparently even at that price, no one wants it.
So does that mean it's a market value price if no one's buying it on the market? And the third property that a landlord told us is equivalent to ours of market rent is a nice 2-bed, 2-bathroom in Drumcondra going for $2,350 per month. Except it's like a penthouse with literally 2 balconies. And once again, it's in Drumcondra, so very central location, and it's actually again walking distance to the city.
Now, I understand in the name of capitalism, all that stuff, what you would really try to charge your tenants, as high a price as you can get it. But what really kind of doesn't make sense is how we're able to look at some of these properties that aren't really even selling, they're just there on the market still, no one's renting it. Because in this day and age, a good property isn't online for a long time. I should be able to come 2 weeks later and see that there's a property there.
So the weird thing is, if you want to appeal the rent review, it's basically the same rules. You as a tenant have to argue that the rent increase is actually above the market level, which leads us to the question, what even is this market level supposed to be? Like, just to see, I went to try and see, could we make that argument? And if you look for properties in our area, it's basically, well, it's a housing crisis. There's hardly any. There was all of 7 properties I could find in Daft, and out of those, most of those were houses, so they're not really comparable to a flat, or they were 1-bedrooms. The only 2-bed, 2-bath, or I don't even know if I had 2-bath, but 2-bedroom apartment we could find was priced more expensively, but also it has direct beach access and is 5 minutes away from the train station. So once again, it's like, clearly that property is probably still online because no one can actually afford it or doesn't necessarily want to afford it.
Despite all this, we are understanding enough of the rent increase. We're kind of happy that it isn't the full 4%, because this would have been actually crazy enough to be the lowest percentage that our rent have risen since we got here.
And really that is just a reflection of how much the rent increased in previous years before, that we're actually grateful for only having a rent increase by 3.8% instead of the full 4%.
Yeah, so I kind of not look forward to it. I wonder how much it's going to be for next year, as well as everybody else. The main thing is this. Stuff's expensive, and if you do have a rent review coming up and they do go through this process, there is a chance that you may be able to counter it there. We're basically making this video to tell people, hey, this is what is the procedure, and if there's a chance that you want to appeal it, hey, this is your chance. This is the things that you might do. But also, I think this is also a useful exercise to see what else is in your area as well, that
in case you might want to leave the place you're living in.
Yeah, but
yeah, I admit it can also be frustrating because it's like they introduced rules to try and make it stricter for landlords to increase the rent, but at the same time it's like the market value the whole argument is based on seems very abstract. Like, if it's based on properties that don't seem to find tenants, which hardly happens in a housing crisis, that's hardly the market value of what people are paying. Like, really what we should be doing is take a survey of everyone in an apartment building and be like, how much are you paying? Or at least the ground floor flats, and find out that way. But that might be creepy if we walk up to everyone's house and start asking them how much they're paying in rent. But the one thing about the changes in the rent rules that did have a positive impact, we realised, is when they did change how much the rent can be increased. So before it used to be 4% every year in the rent pressured zone. Now it's only up to 2% every year or 4% every 2 years. So we did the maths, and basically it is definitely saving us money. So in the old system, and honestly not trusting a landlord that they wouldn't have raised the rent if they could have by 4% last year, we would now be paying €2,156 for once our new lease starts, but instead it's just €2,066. So a little over €80 in saving per month, which does add up. It's still a lot, but at least it's not as much as it could have been.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Yes, for more content like this, please do subscribe. And if you enjoyed it, click that like button. And we leave you with these words.
So the beautiful irony is that with all the rent reviews and everything, there's always this really nice disclaimer you feel like your landlord never actually reads, but we'll read it anyways to remind everyone that it exists. There's no legal requirements on a landlord to increase the current rent amount. There's no legal obstacle to a landlord reducing the current rent amount.
And with that, we bid you adieu.
Bye.
Später.
See you next time.